Like you, I'm pretty conscious about safety. And given we all work in an environment that contains many hazards, potentially lethal ones, it's important to find new and helpful ways to avoid them. After all, we want to go home from work the same way we came, right? Now, I know most of you are going to say, we already have guides like Get Safe, Life-Saving Rules and Toolbox Talks, and you'd be right. But in this video, we're going to talk about something a little different. Manual tasking. We're not going to pretend that you don't handle the uglies now, rather to think about how to approach handling them. Confused? Let me explain. Let's say we have a large, bulky box full of product and needs to be shelved. Because we've handled a box like this many times, we don't think too much about it. We just get on with the job. We grab the box, and before you know it, bang, you've pulled a muscle in your lower back. Now you're down and out for the count. Not good. Now, what if I said to you, let's rewind time and think about things a little differently. Here we go. Once again, we see the box on the ground, and before anything happens, you say to yourself, stop. How can I get hurt? Well, I need to bend and twist, so I could injure my knees or strain my back. You then say to yourself, okay, let's assess. What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself or others? Well, I could use equipment. Does using this equipment expose me to awkward postures? Can I move the load from A to B without obstructions? Okay, so I can use a trolley or ask a workmate to help. Given I still have to lift it onto the trolley, it's best to ask a workmate to help spread the load. When lifting with a workmate, I'll need to agree on a command, like 1, 2, 3, lift, so we can move the load at the same time. And then, when you're comfortable with your assessment, let's move. Let's do this safely using the correct manual tasking techniques. So, as you've seen, we've approached things differently and broken up the task into 3 simple actions. Stop, assess, and move. In short, S.A.M. Now these actions, or S.A.M, are suitable for manual tasking across all areas of the warehouse. But how do they apply to the uglies? As mentioned before, the uglies come in various forms, but to categorise them, they are long items, heavy items, rolled items, and materials handling or unassembled items. They also can be a combination of these. However, for the purpose of this video, let's look at the most common uglies and situations where injuries have occurred. First up is the trusty ladder. Now, depending where the ladder is in the warehouse, receiving, in bulk or dispatch, will determine how we approach handling it. This is where S.A.M really comes in. Let's say a supplier has just delivered a batch of ladders, and now they're lying on the ground at receiving. What is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How can I get hurt?
As it's lying on the ground, and it's quite long, I could lift it and potentially hit someone as I swing around, possibly in the back of the head.
Okay, assess.
What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself or others? Well, it's quite long, so I think it's best to look at the space around me and ensure that it's clear of people and objects. When carrying it, I'll maintain my awareness of others and warn them if necessary.
Now move.
Let's do this safely using the correct manual tasking techniques.
Great stuff. Now that the ladder is in storage, what about handling it from here when it needs to be dispatched? What is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How could I get hurt? Well, they're leaning upright, so it's easy to grab, but they are deceivingly long and top-heavy, so it could cantilever, resulting in too much load to support on my own, damaging my shoulders and back. Okay, assess. What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself or others? I know my limitations, so I'm going to ask a workmate to help with the load and move to dispatch. Let's move. Hey, Darren, give us a hand, mate. Let's do this safely using the correct manual tasking techniques. Get it out on 3. 1, 2, 3, lift.
Yes, brilliant stuff. Ah, how could we forget the good old bag of cement? Cement bags generally arrive on a pallet and are stored under shelving, like this. In this instance, there are 8 bags to pick, but there are 12 on the pallet. So, what is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How can I get hurt? As it's under the shelving, I could hit my head on the edge, causing a head injury. The bags are in an awkward position, and if I attempt to lift them out from under, I could strain my back. Now assess. What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself or others? The simplest and safest thing is pull out the pallet with a forklift. Transfer the minimum number of bags to another pallet, in this instance 4, and place under the shelf. Then take the 8 I need on the original pallet to dispatch. Okay, let's move. Let's do this safely, using the correct manual tasking techniques.
Now that's smart thinking. Yep, I'm sure you're familiar with this one. The 20-kilogram bucket of hand cleaner. Here we have a few stored under the aisle shelf and stacked towards the back. So, what is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How could I get hurt? Well, the buckets are well back on the pallet, so I could get under and trundle the buckets out, but that could cause a shoulder strain as I'll be reaching out with one arm. Okay. Assess. What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself? Like handling cement bags, the easiest and safest thing is to pull out the pallet with a forklift. Using my 2 hands, I'll safely trundle the buckets I need to another pallet. Or, if we only need 1 or 2 buckets, where we can, we could use a trolley. Okay, move. Let's do this safely using the correct manual tasking techniques.
Fantastic. Now we're talking. Now here's where things get a little trickier. Pallet jacks. Unlike most items, pallet jacks come in several parts and usually stacked under shelving. Not the easiest things to get out. Like we've said before, what is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How can I hurt myself? Well, they're unevenly weighted and they have many pinch points, which means I could run the risk of cutting or lacerating my hands and perhaps strain my wrists trying to manage the weight by myself. Now assess. What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself and others? Well, I'm going to ask another workmate to help. Using a forklift, we'll pull out the pallet jacks from under the shelving and we'll take them over to a clear area. With the help of the most appropriate person, given they are heavy and long, we will transfer the pallet jacks we need to a new pallet, all the while communicating and coordinating the lift, balancing the load between us all the way through. On a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And always using gloves to protect our hands. Now move. Let's do this safely, using correct manual tasking techniques.
Great job, guys. And yes, those items that come in many varieties. Let's look at the heavy ones, the dreaded rolls of rubber. Here's some in receiving. What is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How can I get hurt?
Well, they're very heavy and they're hard to grip. If I handle by myself, I'm most likely going to lose grip and drop it on my leg or on my foot. Even strain my arms trying to catch it falling.
Assess.
What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself? Okay, I'm going to ask another workmate to help. Together we'll lift it evenly, we'll bend at the hips and the knees, and we'll transfer it to another pallet, all ready for storing.
Now move. Hey Darren, can you help me please?
Let's do this safely using the correct manual tasking techniques.
Too easy. Now this next one may surprise you, but traffic cones can cause injury when you least expect it. So it's important to not assume manual tasking simple items is risk-free. They're not. Here are some just delivered by the supplier. Again, what is the first action you should take before manual tasking?
Stop. How can I get hurt? Well, they're not too heavy, but they are difficult to see past when carrying. They're made from rubber, and if dropped from height, they'll bounce around uncontrollably. I could get hit in the chest or face, potentially breaking my nose or hit my eye. Okay, assess. What do I need to do to avoid injuring myself? Okay, I'm going to grab a trolley and load them on without needing to take any steps. That way, I'll be able to see when moving them to storage. All right, let's move. Let's do this safely using the correct manual tasking techniques.
Well, there you have it. If you want to move any item safely and reduce the risk of injury, use S.A.M. Stop, assess, move. Thanks for watching. And as always, stay safe.